Welcome into Faith Today. I'm David, War Eagle.
I'm Samuel, Go Dogs.
I'm Chase, Roll Tide.
Nick, Roll Tide.
So this is Faith Today, though, right?
It is Faith Today, where we
it's not Georgia Today.
Where we take a look at the world around us through the lens of faith in Jesus. Real issues, real people, a real faith for a real world.
That's right. I want to tell you about our website, faith2.com. That's where you can find past episodes of the show. You can subscribe to our podcast, audio and video. You can find our articles, our freebies of the week, all kind of good stuff. Faith2.com.
Now that's the number 2, right, Chase?
That's the number 2, Sam.
All right.
Good job.
Speaking of number 2, Alabama's number 2.
Yes.
In the polls. Hey, congratulations.
A poll that
Actually, I'm a little
still
afraid
matter.
LSU's going to flip them.
Huh?
I'm a little
LSU's
afraid
absolutely going to flip.
Oh,
LSU's going to
well,
jump
look,
them.
and
you know,
right-
they played a real team, first off.
At this point, rightfully so. You've got
They played a
number
real
3
team.
and number 4
Yeah.
playing.
Look, I don't have a problem with it.
Hey,
That's going to settle on the field.
I really felt like, I thought LSU would struggle with because they had their quarterback pulled out the last minute and just kind of, but they have apparently put together a monster.
I was impressed.
Monster team.
They showed up and showed out against Oregon. Now, they both, Oregon and LSU, both had their issues coming into the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, with, outside of the game issues, losing players and all that good stuff, but LSU did it to it.
That's right. Well, in a minute, we're going to go to our first caller, but I thought we could talk about early on. How do you guys think your team's going to do this year?
It looks like we got Shane from Center Point, and Tammy is on deck.
Oh,
and so,
no.
awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, let's talk for a while before we get to that, though.
Okay,
that
all right, that
scares
sounds
me.
good. That sounds good.
That's a little frightening.
All right, Sam, you start.
Me?
Because you guys are on a roll right now. How do you think Georgia's
that
going
is
to do
awesome.
this year?
That is awesome.
On a roll downhill.
Well,
Did you buy?
trying to be nice.
Was there like was there a fire sale on Georgia memorabilia after last night's game?
Dang! Oh
and
my
you just
gosh!
Went and, hey, anyway,
look.
Go ahead.
Hey, I'm a fan, okay? I'm a Georgia
You
fan,
are.
and I'm not a fair weather
And everyone
fan.
knows
and Mark
You know,
Richt is a believer.
Mark Richt
I like
is a
Mark
believer.
Richt.
He's
Good
probably
guy.
more
I like
saved
Mark
than any of y'all's coaches. I'm just
Hey,
kidding.
Wow.
Just
Hey.
a couple
Wow.
weeks ago,
Hey.
Nick Saban was asked greatest leader of all time. He said Jesus because Jesus was such a servant. Now, how about that?
Wow.
That's Nick Saban.
That was his publicist.
I'm not sure
No, I'm
he
just
would have
kidding.
said that 2 years ago.
Okay,
I'll be honest
I'm
with
gonna
you.
withhold my comments on that.
You
Let's talk
oughta,
about Georgia.
Barner.
And
Okay,
let's
Georgia,
talk about
look,
Georgia and
here-
Boise State.
I
Here's
want to
the
hear
deal.
this at some point.
Here's the deal. Georgia, look, they came out strong right at first. Their defense looked great at first. They shut them down. They scored first, put a touchdown on the board first off. Then it was like, second quarter, third quarter, where were the dogs? They disappeared, and
But
this
that
other
just
team
look-
came on the field. And
That just goes to show Boise should not be underestimated. I mean, everybody says, they played nobodies all year long. Well, they stepped into the SEC last night, and
It's
Boise's
not-
a good
they
team.
It
showed
is
up.
look, I think Boise should have their shot. To me, they have done this enough
yes.
that it is time to give them, if they win out, it is time to give them their shot at the championship. Like John Talley said this morning when I was telling him, if they get blown out, don't give them another one for 50 years. But I think it's time to give them their shot.
They
Well,
have
here's
to
the
have a
question.
shot,
All they've
no
done
doubt.
is beat a mediocre Georgia team.
Well, look, we were ranked 19.
kidding.
No, it's
I'm
just
just-
true.
you're
correct.
It's true.
They do
They're
it every
decent
time.
Georgia
They
team.
do it every time they play a big name school. That's what they do.
But look,
But here's
Chris
the que-
Peterson may be the best coach in America.
They
other
were
than Nick
extremely
Saban.
impressive. Extremely impressive.
Look,
look,
against
here's the
us.
thing. I'm hoping it's Alabama in January. But let's say LSU and Oklahoma go undefeated. Okay. LSU comes to Tuscaloosa, beats Alabama.
Yeah.
They're undefeated. Oklahoma's undefeated. You really think Boise should jump either LSU?
Hey, that is my
Wow.
jersey. That's my jersey.
No, man, it's cool. I'm
No,
just
it is
sharpening my
not
knife
cool.
here.
You need to put my jersey. Put my jersey down.
Just some rag I found.
Put my jersey. It's not a rag.
Okay, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Let me just kind of
Look, I can take that
To
into
answer your
account any day of the week.
To answer your question, yeah. Let's jump them. They deserve. You look
You
at their
really-
body
no,
of work
time
over the
out.
last several years. They
I'm
deserve
talking about their
shot.
body of work this season. LSU
deserve their
survives
shot.
Alabama
They
in
deserve their
Tuscaloosa.
shot.
They beat Oregon.
Put
I mean-
LSU in the national championship against Boise State.
Over Oklahoma.
Now, hang on just a sec.
Yeah, over Oklahoma because Boise State already proved what they'll do with Oklahoma a couple years ago.
Did we
Okay,
say
that's
at
a
the
couple of
beginning
years
of the
ago.
show that this
It's
was
not this year.
Faith Today?
Live.
Live?
live.
Because I was thinking maybe we
Or
talk about
pre-recorded.
Jesus stuff here. I
Really?
love
hey, dude.
football.
Hey,
You're gonna
football
be
just
this
started
guy.
though.
I'm
No,
just
we're-
saying.
look.
Hey, I tell you what. Let's do this. We're ultimately going to talk about football. Is it idolatry? And all of us are genuinely.
Hey, we're
big
talking
fans.
about football right now, sir.
Football. I was trying to segue us
I don't
along.
care what you're trying to
I could
segue,
talk
sir.
about football for hours, but we probably ought to get to the point.
Then why
right?
are you trying to change the subject? We're
Well,
talking about
I'm not changing the subject. Let's do this.
Hey.
In segueing into talking about football as possible idolatry, all of us are big fans. What's the worst behavior you've ever personally exhibited in a football context? I'll start.
Okay.
All right. The most recent one I can think of, 2009, Alabama goes into Auburn undefeated. Auburn is not very good that year, and Alabama starts stinking up the place, and Auburn is playing great. And
But they threw him a few curves, to be
now
fair.
look, hey, I'm giving all the credit to Auburn. They
Oh, yeah,
played
they
a
played a
great
great
game. And in the midst of that, Auburn scored. It was Thanksgiving. I was celebrating with family. I stood up in the room and I just kicked a chair over and screamed. I was so mad.
Well, good morning.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
hello.
it was not
Hey.
drama. I just lost it. I was
This is your
so mad.
pastor, Agave. Just
It was wrong.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. God forgive me. That's probably the worst I've been. I've never wounded anybody, but I was mad.
you
All
almost wounded that jersey a second ago.
Well,
Hey, look, there's
It
nothing.
deserved
The only thing worse than losing your shot at the national championship is to lose that shot to your rival,
I was
which
hot.
almost happened to Auburn last year in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
But
Back, 2 years.
yeah,
in a
2
row.
years in a row. 1998 for me. It was 98.
Wow.
I believe it was 98, maybe 99. But
going
you have to
way
go back and look. But Auburn was playing Mississippi State. It would have been 1999. But anyway, Auburn was playing Mississippi State, and they were pretty decent back then. That was the last few years of Jackie Sherrill, and anyway, we lost. Auburn lost to Mississippi State, and my attitude was horrible. We were supposed to go to a wedding that night, Allison and I, and she just kept coming in there saying, "Are you going to get ready? Are you going to get ready?" And I was mad, and so I finally just blew up, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get ready or not. I may not go anywhere. And she was just like, well, I'll just go by myself. And she got ready, and I was like, I don't care what you do. I don't even know if she remembers the story or not. But I was a complete. I was a complete jerk. She got in the car and left and went on without me. I felt bad. I got
Point to
ready,
Allison.
got in my car, and I followed suit. And this was the bad thing. I got on the interstate, and this was before we both had cell phones, and there was a traffic stop. It was a traffic standstill, traffic jam from a wreck ahead. And I was just, my whole time I was thinking, oh my God, please don't let this be her. Please don't let this be her. Please,
that's scary.
And
Wow,
it was just man, why did you get so mad about it? So,
Yeah.
she talked to me a few days
that's
later.
scary.
Yeah, she talked to me a few days later, but that was
Hey,
one
bro,
of the worst.
I'm
for
gonna go
me.
ahead and say she hadn't forgot about it. If that
It's
story
been-
happened like you said.
It's been like 12 years. What's the statute of limitations on that? How about you? What do you got?
Death.
Oh, dude, me now look. See, here's the thing. I'm a very expressionate person when I watch. I mean, I'm going, but I won't. Actually,
For the blooper.
So you're not trying to
late.
be
Absolutely.
cool.
Here's the
toward
day.
fan.
Here's the thing. Of late, it's more like, again, really. But anyway, I get expressionate. I go crazy. I scream.
Yeah.
But I've never knocked anything over. I've never pushed anybody. I've never taken it out on somebody else.
But you were pretty mad at the 2009 Georgia-Alabama game. Georgia was ranked number 1. Alabama came out and just.
Okay. Look.
You were
look,
pretty mad then.
Look. But there again, I
'Cause we
didn't
were
take it
together.
out. Yes. Yeah. We were at a bachelor party, if I remember
were.
correctly. And that was the
Poor
whole.
Jared.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just like glued to the TV,
Yeah, glued to
watching
the
football,
TV around-
and it was his party.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
now
Jared.
look, that was the blackout where Rick made
It
the
was.
comment about, hey, we're going to a funeral and all this kind of stuff and all that
I remember
all
that
that
now.
buzz and y'all just
Yeah,
came out and
and Kim
spanked
killed
us, punched us in the mouth, and we never recovered. That I was very mad at that game, and I guess it did affect my attitude. But once the game was over, I mean,
You didn't swear.
I didn't
You
swear. I didn't take
cut
it out
in
on
jerseys.
you. I was going to say I didn't take it out on you.
You didn't talk to me for a while.
Well, I mean, I didn't
For the
talk to
whole
anybody.
first
Like,
half,
well,
you
I
were
was about to
psyched.
say, well, for that first thing, I was just like, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
I can't.
Why
believe
in the
this.
world did he do a bachelor party on that day?
That's what we were asking on the
Because
way.
Well,
not
he's not a
every
football fan.
apparently not everyone revolves their whole life around football.
Look,
which
I
is,
mean, even
this
if you're
is
not
Alabama.
Yeah.
I was about to say, that's what I was about to say. In this state, it's
He-
hard
look,
to not
he-
realize
honestly,
that,
he
like,
didn't know. He didn't know.
He didn't even
Okay,
know the
well,
game
all right.
was on.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough.
All right.
well, yeah, and you're right. In this state, it is taken to such a level that it really is. If you don't live in Alabama, some of the stories. I remember a couple of years ago, the father and the son that got into a fight after an Alabama game, and the father shot the son. That was just a few
Hey.
miles from here in Pinson.
a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
the Virginia, there's a YouTube video that circulated a long time ago about a dude who just lost it during the Alabama-Virginia Tech game.
I saw that
Just
video.
made a complete
That
goober
guy
of
was
himself.
crazy.
Was that you? Oh.
No. I mean, that was a tenth of what I was kicking over the chair. That guy just lost it.
There's just a look. It is, in my opinion, for many people, and I will fit into this category for a long time. And I'm not saying that I can't go back there, but it is modern day idolatry. That's what it ends up being.
So many people identify. I never had a situation like what you're describing, but I get so
Really?
mad on.
You're a passionate guy.
I am, but to be fair, I didn't get into college football until later in life. My dad, I grew up favoring Alabama. If I watched it, I wasn't into sports as a young kid. Actually, I got into it thanks to Xbox, because I didn't understand it when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
And when I got older and I started playing on the Xbox, and I finally figured out what did what, I started watching. Oh, that makes more sense now. I wasn't an athlete as a kid, but on social media the last couple of years, the championship season for Alabama, I would get so aggravated at friends of mine who were Auburn fans because they would just
I feel your
lambast
pain.
us for stuff. And it's like, they would say, you Alabama fans, I'm like, I'm a perfectly civil human being. And it's like people wear this as their identity as opposed to mother, brother, father, son, Christian.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, I am an Auburn fan, and all Alabama fans, y'all can go sit in the corner and do something bad.
And I think that's on both sides.
Yeah.
Oh, no, look, I'm saying it frustrated me
Yes.
as an Alabama fan watching all it.
Yeah.
And look, I see my friends who are Alabama fans, I'm like, oh man, don't say that. You're going to make us look bad.
Well, let me say this. I remember, because obviously I'm a transplant. I'm a Georgia fan living in Alabama. I remember
Can you
like
transplant
the first.
any of that stuff off the table?
No. I'm
Sorry.
That is a pretty obvious Georgia cap there, pal.
Hey, well, here's the deal. I moved here, and people, they would ask you, who do you pull for? But what they really meant was are you for Alabama or Auburn?
Yeah.
I mean, because every time I'd say Georgia, they would be like, what? I mean, they were just confused. It was crazy. And I'll tell you this: we had a Georgia tag on the front of our vehicle, when we first moved here. And it was literally, it looked like it was kicked, broken, like in half.
See, that's stupid.
And I was like, really? Good grief.
But there's a, that, look, and it may be like that in other, I'm sure it is in other states, but there's a, I came to a point for me, and I am not a superficial Auburn fan. I'm not like a,
Oh, no.
Since I was
No,
a
sir, you're not.
teenager, I could tell you every position, every player, their numbers, their stats, who were recruiting. But a couple of years ago, what I realized for me is that I had taken this thing that God had given. If you imagine just holding any good thing God gives like this, and I'd clenched my fist around it. And what was happening was, like the story I told, my mood was being altered by whether or not they won or lost. Quite honestly, I was finding peace in it. It was like, hey, it's been a bad week, but man, Saturday will be here soon, and it'll be time. So it was giving me peace. The fact that we had a game coming up where I was going to get to watch them play. And then it was altering how I felt about other people. It was that, listening to talk radio or just people, getting in good-natured jabs, and all of a sudden I found myself where I didn't enjoy being around these people, brothers in Christ. And so God really just brought me to a point of saying, look, you need to lay it down. You need to lay this down. It's time for you to fast this. And so I did for
2 years.
2 years.
Well, yeah, half of almost all of the 2009 season, and then at the beginning, at the end of the 2009 season, at the beginning of the 10th, I made the decision I was going to continue that. And Auburn won a national championship with a guy named Cam Newton, who I Never saw play except going back and looking at some highlights.
How about that now?
But, you know, I am trying to get back this year to a point to where I can watch it and try to enjoy it. But, you know, the bottom line is it cannot be something that we find, it cannot take the place of what God is supposed to do. And it can't be that thing we find our peace
Look,
in.
I'll tell you this, you know, and
Or our identity in.
Or our identity.
Our identity, and as well, you know, family. I mean, we also, you know, yes, it cannot take the place of God, most definitely. But, you know, there are people that at least take it as high as that, even family, and disregard, you know, responsibilities based on football schedules and timing, and, you know, that's
Lisa and I had to go
me.
through that because I didn't grow. You know, when we were dating early in our marriage, I would watch with friends. We would watch the Iron Bowl. You know, her family, a lot of her siblings are diehard Auburn fans, and we had to make that adjustment, and it's difficult.
Do you know that? Do you know one time I did a wedding on a weekend because the pastor I was serving with wasn't going to do it because there was an Alabama game that weekend.
But you know,
I've heard it.
Anybody that gets married in the South in the fall
Who
during
was that?
Alabama games.
What was that guy's name?
I don't even know because I didn't do the wedding.
I think it was Chase
Oh,
Thompson.
no!
I think it was Chase Thompson. Yeah.
That's priceless.
Let's do this. Let's go out. Everybody, all right, let's give some practical advice. If college football is an idol in your life, how do you kill it? Start with you guys. Look, the bottom line is, if it is an idol in your life, you have two choices. God's going to kill it, or you can kill it. So if it's idolatry, what do we do about it?
I'm sorry, I was reading the article on your.
Yeah, it's a good article. I'm having a hard time not.
Sorry.
To me, I mean, what you did, David, I mean, that really spoke volumes to me, even the fact that, you know, when you realize it has gotten to a point that it has consumed you and sets your mood and sets your, you know, your demeanor in relationships, you know, you have to utterly kill it. You have to completely cut it off. And you say, you know, you said before that you didn't watch any games, but you didn't even read articles, of my understanding. I mean, you didn't get. I mean, you wouldn't even. You know, obviously you knew how they were doing from people
because
talking.
I heard people talking.
Exactly, but you would even you know, prevent yourself from reading articles about the upcoming game or, you know, reviews of the last week's game. And that's the way. Look, anything that owns you, you have to kill it like that. You have to completely cut it off.
Yeah, lay it down. I've got a friend of mine who didn't quite do that, but one thing he's moved to is he records all the games. He watches nothing live. He doesn't allow it to impact his schedule. He doesn't dictate his life around it. He just records the game, and then at night he'll come home and watch it. So he does it away from, and that's one thing he's doing, to where he didn't completely cut it out, but he's pushed it to the back burner among everything else, because he felt the same thing was happening.
Well, let me say this. I know you talked about the relationships that are affected by Alabama-Auburn rivalry. You know, other rivalries too. This is the thing. If you are in a situation where you're divided from a brother in Jesus because of a football rivalry, that is a critical problem. That's a critical sign. You got to kill it. If you're separated, if your thought are all those stupid Auburn fans, I can't stand them, then you're breaking unity in the body. We are not first and foremost Alabama fans. You are not first and foremost Auburn fan. That should come way down the list. And so let's in the midst of a heated college football season, it may be okay to watch it if God's not calling you away. Don't make it an idol. Be unified in the body of Christ. Have fun with the rivalry. Don't take it past that.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah, don't take it personally. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk about 9/11, how the commemoration of 9/11 coming up next week is going to be without Christian clergy or any kind of religious representation at all. So hang on for that. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. We want to send you to our website, faith2.com. That's the number 2. And that is the place to go find these clips. You can also find behind-the-scenes pictures and videos. But we really, really want to encourage you to comment on segments, give us questions that you've been thinking about, even show topic possibilities. So faith2.com is where we need to go to get that information from you.
That's right. Hey, all right, we're recording this on September 4th, 2011. This week is going to be all about, in the news and everything, all about the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. We're going to take a faith-based angle on it. So David, where are we going with this?
Well, you know, I think 9/11 is the, you know, maybe for our generation, it's the Kennedy moment. You know, for my parents, it was always, where were you? You know, when you got the news that Kennedy had been shot. I think for us, it's 9/11. Pretty much everyone knows where they were, what was happening that day.
What was it before that? Just out of curiosity, in your mind, for us, for our generation.
Challenger.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what
Challenger.
I was thinking.
Yeah, because even as
9/11,
I was 8 years
Challenger.
old and I could still do Challenger. Talk about that. You know, to me, the thing that I center on as we come to this anniversary, you know, for me, I remember that day, and it was a huge spiritual moment, I guess, because I wasn't where I needed to be with God, and so it was just this, wow, what is happening in the world? What is going on? There was a lot of fear, and so it was for me, there was you know, a running toward, I guess. You know, there was this, wow, you know, where is God? I need God, and to me, that was what was happening in this country. You know, it was a massive, you know, push of the country toward God. I mean, that night, I think it was that very day, Congress on the steps of the Capitol singing God Bless America for weeks afterwards, synagogues and churches filling up. And I think it's interesting to go, okay, it's been 10 years. Now, where is the country in relation to God today versus what happened 10 years ago and where we were in our response to God?
You know, one of the things I remember, you know, even a year afterwards, a year later, you would hear, you know, especially well-known preachers in the New York City area, how they spoke of, you know, for weeks and even some months after 9/11, their services were overflowing, but how quickly it started to decline again, and how, you know, a year later it was, you know, attendance was lower even than what it had been. So very, very interesting, our response to that. Now you're speaking at it from a positive thing where you said, hey, it really woke me up and I started getting, you know, serious about my relationship again, and you actually progressed.
But we were in a place where we were searching. We knew, my wife and I both, I think at that time, that we weren't where we needed to be. We were, you know, we were working on that, for use of those terms. But I remember that night, just the fear of it, and it did drive me. You know, it drove me toward God. But you know, you're talking about a year later it being even lower. You know, it's to me it's the Hosea 13 verse or Hosea 13 passage that talks about where God says, you know, here's my people, and you know, they were hungry, I fed them, they became full, and they forgot me. And I think there's an angle to that of, hey, we're scared, we're running to God, oh, everything's going to be okay, let's get back to the way things were before.
Yeah, one of the angles we wanted to talk about was that at the official 9/11 memorial that's happening this week in New York City, the Mayor Bloomberg has made the decision to exclude Christian clergy and really religious involvement of any kind, Islam, Hindu, you know, whatever. Some people have had a very strong negative reaction to that. Other people have said, you know, this is appropriate. So what do you guys think? Is that the best way to memorialize the victims of 9/11, to do it sanitized of religion?
Well, I don't have, you know, as far as whether or not there are clergy there or whether or not I don't have like a strong feeling. I mean, I would prefer that, obviously. I think that it was, you know, I think in the blog article, it was talking about how, off CNN, it was talking about how, you know, this is there are questions that something like 9/11 brings up that politicians don't have an answer for and officials don't have an answer for, and you need those spiritual advisors, you need the pastors, you need the clergy, you need them to steer people in the direction for those questions. But to me, it's more of it's the picture. September 11th, 2001 ends with again, Congress at Capitol singing God Bless America. September 11th, 2011, we're not even having any representation of God at all in the memorial service. To me, that's the bigger, it's the picture of that, of what has happened in 10 years.
It kind of shows, where we've gone. It follows that same path. Hey, that's 10 years ago. We kind of reflexively responded with God and to God when it happened. But we've had 10 years to think about it, and it just would not be prudent to allow religion in the memorial service. Yeah. And it just I don't have, and there again, I don't have a problem with that, because there again, they would have to open it up to all religions, and I could see where there could be some heated. Because honestly, you would have to open it up to Muslims as well. And so,
that's where your problem happens.
Well, that's where a problem could lie, and I could see that where you never know really what you're going to get.
Let me ask you, Nick, why is that a problem? Because I think I might take an opposite position of you, but I can appreciate why you guys would say that's a problem. Why is that a problem?
In the 10 years since 9/11, it may have been occurring before, and I don't want to speak to it exactly because I didn't pay attention to politics as much prior to this. This actually turned my attention to politics more. But I have seen the sanitization of religion out of politics since that event.
Yeah.
And part of me wonders if it wasn't in response to, you're right, the nation seemed to be united. Now, were we really united under God, or were we united because of fear? And that's where we all turned. I don't know. I'm not trying to say one way or the other.
I would say fear.
Okay. I would say fear. It didn't last.
But what we were united against was what caused it. Okay. And now what we've done is everybody's equal, okay? Jews and Christians and Muslims and Hindus, like you were saying, but the simple fact of the matter is, the terrorists who did this claimed a specific religion,
and they did it in the name of that religion.
In the name of that religion, and I would venture to say a lot of our uniting, even if it was in faith, was. I don't know if it was because of what happened or if it was against who did it.
Against a group, yeah.
And
I can see that.
And that's why I say, that's why I wonder if they didn't make this, Mayor Bloomberg didn't make the call he did, because what you'll have is if you've got a rabbi praying and you've got a pastor praying and you've got a Catholic priest praying, yeah, and all of a sudden that.
Did you say your mom?
Imam, not your mom.
Imam.
I wouldn't, I'd be fine with your mom praying there. But
Nick's mom may be a great prayer. I mean, send her up there. Hey, let anyone pray at this point. I mean,
yeah, just get prayer back
there.
Anyway,
today you're liable to hear a your mom joke at any point, even at a deep discussion of 9/11.
And we
do apologize for.
And we've lost Nick. So.
Yes.
I'm gonna go 12 like Sam did a few weeks
I'm sorry.
ago.
I apologize.
I want to leave it alone. But that's where the issue comes up, is all of a sudden everybody gets to pray, but we're not going to let. I wonder if there wouldn't be a backlash if you let. And my mom, is that?
Yes.
I'm gonna let you butcher the word, but you're going to have a backlash because there's going to be a group of people, me included, that's going to be like, hey, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Because people claiming your religion, I'm not going to say you, but people claiming your religion are the ones who did this, and I don't know that.
Well, look, bottom line is you would have an emotional response to it.
Absolutely, I would.
From people there. And you honestly, you wind up having a situation where, okay, what could possibly happen? It might not, but what could this really open it up to? And so, to play it safe, we're just going to close it all down.
All right, let me say this. Let me see if I can
thought.
build a case really quickly why I'm against the play it safe argument. The HuffPo article that we read quotes a guy named Richard Land, head of the.
For those who don't know.
Cool.
Okay.
HuffPo.
Quotes
Cool.
Richard Land, who's a big Southern Baptist guy, head of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. This is what he says. It's unbelievable, says Richard Land. We live in a country where the overwhelming majority of people identify as Christians or have a religion, and clergy were some of the first people to respond on 9/11 to minister to victims. Why aren't they welcome today? Now, I have had Richard Land for ethics, and in fact, I've been in his class a couple of times because I was the video monitor for his class. He has a very interesting take on religion in America. He says there's 3 positions you can take: avoidance, accommodation, or acknowledgement. We can totally avoid it, which is what Bloomberg is doing. We can accommodate religion, which would be state-sponsored religion, state-enhanced religion. He says both of those, and I totally agree with him. Avoiding it is a mistake. Accommodating it is a mistake. He says the middle path and the best thing for the government is to acknowledge it. So we acknowledge that we are in a society of multiple religions. I do not believe Islam is truth. In fact, I think it's a lie. I think it's an utter lie. I believe Jesus is very clear he's the only way to heaven. From a governmental perspective, however, I don't think that we avoid religion. I think that's dangerous. We are a religious people. And look, it would turn my stomach to see an imam pray. It would be controversial. But from a governmental perspective, I'm not sure we should say no to that.
Right.
But you're having more and more and more of, and look, I've gone round and round with different people, both Republican and Democrat, about separation of church and state.
Yeah.
And even though it is not formally in the Constitution,
Right.
it is being embraced more and more and more. And
I
from
think
their
it's a mistake.
Well, but from their perspective, it's probably a lot easier to say no to everyone rather than risk what really could. That is going to be a heightened state of emotion, man. And if you do accommodate an imam praying,
And I don't want to accommodate. I want to acknowledge.
I apologize. I'm using the wrong term from your reference there. But I think you turn into. I think you have.
Oh, look, it's totally controversial.
I think you have crowd control problems.
I would rather have a courthouse with a nativity scene, even if you have to have a Star of David next to it. I'm okay with that. I just don't want a culture where we totally avoid religion.
Look, I'm down with that. I agree with that. I'm following you there. But when we look at it from this perspective, it is a 9/11 memorial. In other words, I guess what I'm trying. I see what you're saying, and ultimately I agree with it. But at the same time, I don't cringe at the fact that they're just saying, "Hey, we're just doing a 9/11 memorial. We're not doing a 9/11 religious service. We're doing a 9/11 memorial where we as a country remember this horrific day."
And to be fair, in all the other services, all the other services they've had, or the
moments of silence,
they've done moments of silence, which is what they're going to do this time. And that's why I'm saying, look, I don't have a problem with what Richard Land's saying or what you're saying. I'm simply saying, it is, for me, it is not this moment. It is not the memorial service. Right. It is just, wow. How, and right. maybe you're one of, maybe someone who's watching this is one of those people who in the days following it ran to the churches and to prayer. And it's just this, as a pastor, it's this, yes, when you're afraid, it is, yes, it's run to God. That's the right response. But it's not that, well, when everything's okay, you go back and you move in the opposite direction. You're God is God for every day, and that it is seeing the right response on that day. To me, it was a turning toward God, and it's just, wow, why could that have not kept up? Why could people still not be? Why could we not have ran with that?
Now, look, you can go two different directions there. Was it the weakness of the church?
That's a great.
I think it is. I think it was.
I think you have to acknowledge that that's some of it, if not most of it. Was it the weakness of the church? I guess to bring this segment to a close, what I really want to, I don't have so much an issue with them closing it off on stage, but what I would say, if I were a congregation, a minister, or part of a congregation there in the New York City area, or even close by to where you could actually make the memorial drive, you encourage your congregation, you encourage your fellowship and your believers, hey, there are going to be people there that are still hurting and reeling from 10 years ago. Be the church within the crowd. Be the church. Don't worry about the on-stage presence. Be the church within the crowd.
Absolutely.
And when we come back, we're going to take a look at some, divorce in the Bible Belt.
Marriage.
So stay tuned.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Faith Today. Our website, faith2.com. We want to hear from you. Check out past shows, all that kind of good stuff at faith2.com. Now we're going to get into a very serious, deep subject. George Lucas has changed Return of the Jedi yet again, adding a line from Darth Vader. Do we have I'm sorry.
No.
I was thinking about
No.
something else during the
Blah,
break.
blah, blah.
Okay, wait.
Blah,
wait.
blah.
What's the
Are we talking
divorce?
about politics?
No. It's divorce in the Bible Belt.
That's
Divorce in
right.
the Bible Belt. So, David, well, what's the deal with the increased rates of divorce in the Bible Belt versus the heathen Northeast?
How in the world did you
I'm
make
just
that
kidding.
jump?
Heathen Northeast. That was a joke.
We love the
We
Northeast.
love you,
We
Maine.
love the Northeast. This
Vermont.
Are you
is
a New England
New
Patriots fan?
Hampshire.
You better love Vermont.
not
Love
really.
it.
No, I don't
So
really.
you don't
syrup?
love the Northeast.
I'm not a real big Bill Belichick guy.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is from CNN's. Well, actually, this is from a CNN
We just lost
living
1,000
blog.
viewers in Boston.
CNN living blog. I don't like
Go
Tom Brady
Yankees.
either. So.
Oh my gosh, that's 10,000 now.
All right. But the title was "What's Fueling Bible Belt Divorces" by Katia Heder. And what she is saying is that there is a, while the Bible Belt is known for its traditional values, Southerners don't do well on one key family value. They are more likely to get divorced than people living in the northeastern part of the United States.
What a surprise. An upset.
Now they give statistics according to rates of divorce in 2009. In the South, for every 1,000 men, 10.2 of them. So I always love
That's
the
funny.
0.2.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, 10.2
Where is
of
that
them
0.2
are
man?
liable to get divorced. 11.1 women per every 1,000. How can 10.2 men and 11.1 women? I mean,
When I
wouldn't
read
those
that, I must
stats
say-
pretty much be about the same?
When I read that, I must say I thought the same thing. How's that not the
Typically more
same?
women
got
in
a-
society.
All right, well.
Hey, look, I only had
It looks
2
like they would be
maths in
even.
college, so I don't
Well,
know.
obviously, you go on multiple marriages. So
All right, well, Katia Heder makes the.
Probably Katya.
Do you think I
It's
like
kind of a
saying
Russian
Katia?
name. Yeah, but-
Katia.
Let's not go with that one.
All right, well, we won't. All right, Miss Heder, Miss Heder makes the point. Basically what she says is this: in the South, the values are no sex before marriage, and therefore people want to get married earlier.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to have to wait on marital fruit.
That's
And
right.
So,
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that our stance on sex before marriage is causing divorce. So, folks, we need to cut that out,
look,
right?
that is exactly what.
yeah.
Well, look, that's
I'm joking,
exactly,
by the way.
That's exactly what she's wanting to try to portray.
It
here,
is.
and that is so ridiculous, in my opinion.
I agree.
It-
David, you can keep mispronouncing her name because that's just a dumb
Well, I'm
idea.
not even going to try to pronounce her name, but I'm going to say that these stats do not sustain her argument at all.
Well, she says in the Northeast, people don't have those, forgive me, don't have those standards. And so, hey, people can wait a little bit longer. They can go to college. They can get more mature. They
They
find
get
out who
older.
they are. They get older. Then they get married and they have successful marriages rather than the divorce.
Look, when
Well,
she
for us,
gives,
young
Successful or sustained?
well,
Yeah.
well, you know
There's
what
a
she.
difference.
Well, the thing is, what she's saying is she's measuring success by they don't get divorced as often. So once you marry older, you've figured out who you are, and you've kind of figured out who you're looking for, and so therefore you're going to be more apt to stay in that marriage, and that's the only basis she's given. Now, one example, a testimony of, let's see. She's like, where I grew, I don't know if it names the person, but she says, where I grew up in Virginia, I saw some of my peers not finishing high school, some not going to college, some not finishing college, she said. I saw a lot of people just staying in my hometown, staying in dead-end jobs, and just settling, taking very little risk taking
Also, they
for
have
their
sex.
careers. And yeah.
Wait, is Virginia in the South?
I guess we still claim
They're
them.
like way above us, aren't they?
But anyway, she goes on
Joking
to
again.
They
say,
ain't south around
we
here.
love Virginia and the Northeast.
but she goes on to say basically,
Vermont.
yes. Hey, we better watch about it.
I was doing that
Got
for
one,
Nicholas.
you know.
We did.
But she goes on to make this argument, hey, what I did is I broke the mold, and I dated around, and I lived with a guy for a while, and I had many relationships with guys, and I was able to find out really who I was and what I wanted to be, and I think now she's some kind of art person living in New York.
And you
Married
know,
to-
those
are
how
called
we feel about
artists.
those art people. Well,
So-
you're married to an art person.
We just
Yeah.
lost the other 5,000
Yeah.
Northeasterners that were watching just then.
Hey, I realize, but hey, We're in
Do
the
you?
South. We're in
Because
the
they're
South.
called artists.
We are in the South.
Artists.
So-
Those art people.
Hey,
I don't like
we
those
got
You
art
five-
listen here, Kettering or Catter or whatever your name is.
We can't say
We
your
don't-
name, and y'all are art people.
We don't want to hear advice on marriage from art people.
Hey, but we got 5 amens. We may have lost 5,000, but
We did. We got 5
amens.
amen. All right. The stat. Look, the stat is there. Maybe there's
we
more
taste
marriages
them
in
now?
the South, and
I
so
would
we
love to.
more.
We have a taser.
Hey, more divorces, more marriages in the South, perhaps. That's the stat.
Well,
Perhaps.
and she's also.
It's like
she's really-
7.5.
Yeah,
7.5
that's true.
women or men.
Well, she's
for
driving
every
home
1,000.
the getting married too young.
Yeah, well, look, we could debate
No, we
her
can't.
point all day and mispronounce her name even longer. How about we do this? I mean, divorce in the church is a problem. She's
is.
right. There's way
It
too
is.
much divorce in the Bible Belt among
Bottom
the
line.
people of God than should be. In fact, I tell you this, I say it with a great deal of sadness. I am standing on the sidelines right now watching a couple very near me who've been married over 50 years. I'm watching that marriage disintegrate. It is heartbreaking. It is devastating. And I'm thinking, how in the world can that happen? And in one of the articles that were in, it was in our prep, had the son, Jonathan Merritt, who was a pastor, and he said, right now churches are focusing a lot of attention and money and resources on divorce care. We should focus more of our attention on divorce prevention. I completely agree with that.
I'm down with that. Look,
But how? How do we do it?
Well, I mean, let's take this though. I mean, there's not a single one of us. We're all leaders within a fellowship, and there's not a single one of us who haven't been directly affected by divorce somehow, some way. So I mean, it is rampant. Yes. How do we correct that? Well, be the church. I mean, we've got to get more in. We're called the Bible Belt, but that is such a misnomer these days. I mean, these stats. I don't doubt these stats that she's giving us about the Bible Belt, but the bottom line is we're more cultural Christianity than we are really Bible believing Christians.
That's absolutely
and,
true.
And so that's part of your issue.
I was about to say exactly the 2 words he used. So
Yeah.
You-
Yeah,
you- go.
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead. What you're saying.
You see it in all things. We're just talking about the 9/11 memorial, and we talked about the football thing before. On Saturdays we put on our jersey, and then on Sundays we put, well, for us it's all the time apparently. Sundays we put on our suit and tie. Monday we go to work.
We're not a suit and tie church. I know what you mean though. Go ahead. Mondays we go to work.
Yeah, and we wear these hats for wherever we are to fit the mold, to fit in, to not.
That's true. That's a strong point.
But our identity is shaped not by who we are or who has saved us and who we're following, but by the circumstances around us. And when you're tossed to and fro like that, it's easy for a couple who has seemingly been together for a long time, or a game, a silly sport. I mean, in all honesty, it is just a sport, to be able to divide families.
Watch it now.
Hey, you know what?
No, look, that's right, and but I will say this: even among the cultural, if we said that this is not just a cultural Christian problem, then people who, with every ounce of their being, proclaim Christ, and by the fruit of their life look like they're proclaiming Christ, still, when it comes to this issue. Now, listen, my parents divorced when I was 10, and I love my parents. My dad's passed on, and my mom's still here, thankfully. But it was the most traumatic event for me in my life at 10 years old, and it really has shaped everything that has happened in my life since then, in many ways. And I bring that into counseling. I bring that into sitting down with, especially couples who are going through pre-marriage counseling that I'm doing, or couples counseling. And this is always what I say: is take it off the table. It's not an option. Divorce. Take divorce off the whatever. Look, we have real problems, and marriages have real problems. We need to solve those. But take divorce, push it to the side, and say, you know what? I'm not going to do this regardless. It is not the best thing for the kids. I do not care what that has gotten out there, that, hey, this is the best thing for the kids. No, the best thing for the kids is for it to be worked out. And I will stand by that as a as a kid who grew up in it. And it was not the best thing, and it has to become. We have to get to a point where it's not an option.
Yeah.
We are not going to see it as couples as an option.
And I'll say this: look, there's people watching this right now that are divorced, and we don't want to throw condemnation out, but what we do want to do is fight for saving marriages.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are situations where one spouse is hell bent on leaving, and nothing the other spouse can do will stop it. And we recognize that. We recognize there's mistakes. We recognize there's grace, but we do want to strengthen marriage. And
Absolutely.
I have a friend. He is, I guess I would describe him as something of an obnoxious Georgia fan. But
very sad.
He has written an excellent article about marriage myths, and I thought maybe we could go to him now and see what he might have to say about that. Sam, what are some myths of marriage that that can lead to divorce if you believe them?
For the 14 people that we've not alienated yet, could you tell them about
what?
Hey, this was one of the best things I have ever, and really, in all honesty, it came. I believe. I'm saying this, not you. I believe it was Holy Spirit driven. It came to you, I think, just almost overnight, and it is one of, I think, when I read it, I go, "That's not Sam." No offense, but I go, "That's not Sam."
That's actually what I want to hear.
It is strong, Roll Tide. It is strong. Hey, for real though, you're gonna read out a few of them. We're gonna have the rest of them on our site, faith2.com.
12
So for the rest of
marriage.
these excellent, well, not excellent, but very well written marriage myths, faith2.com.
Faith2.com. 12 myths that end in marriage.
Okay, and I'll say this from your from your response. It came at a time where people very close to me, and kind of acquaintances as well. So I was seeing it on many different fronts. Marriages were struggling and falling apart right before my eyes, and my heart grieved, and as I sought the Lord on it, I sat down at the computer one morning and it was just like my fingers were moving. And okay, I'll just hit a few of these, and we'll just you guys kind of comment on them, I guess. Myth number 1, I'll just do the top 3. Myth number 1, I'm not happy anymore. That is one of the biggest myths to encourage, myths within marriage that, that's an okay excuse to get a divorce, or that's a belief that you should always be happy in marriage.
The point of marriage is not to be happy. Is not necessarily to be happy. Well, I said that the wrong way.
The point of marriage is not to be happy.
Janet, he did not mean that.
The overall focus of marriage is not on happiness.
Yes.
It is a higher thing than that.
Exactly.
Well, and two, look, you can get back to a place of being happy. This is not a stay in that marriage and be miserable.
The rest of your life.
That's not the point.
Yeah,
you
right.
can get to a place of being happy again. It's just it's working through.
Well,
it.
and hey, how about what if you were unhappy and brought that into your marriage, and now your marriage is unhappy because of something you brought in, or something that's not even relevant to your marriage?
Yeah.
That's not.
Exactly.
That's not a. Yeah. It's not.
You're
a
not going to
reason.
make it better by
Divorce.
Happiness doesn't come with divorce, by the way.
No,
well,
exactly
absolutely.
right.
That is the major part of that myth. Look, you think leaving your spouse and more times than not children, that's going to actually make you happier?
When kids are
actually,
involved, man.
yeah,
Oh.
it is going to exponentially, increase the unhappiness.
Yeah.
Because you're going to create so many more circumstances and situations. Myth number 2 that I put out there was, we've done all we can and it's just not working.
Well, and
That's
again,
a hard one because you hear that a lot.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot with couples considering divorce.
As a pastor, and this is not a. I realize it can sound, you're pulling the Jesus card out, but bottom line is, nothing's impossible with God. This is not necessarily we've done all we can do. It's surrendering to Him, surrendering to His Word, and allowing Christ to heal. And absolutely, He can. It really is. This is not. Truthfully, this is not. We've done all we can. It's not working. This is turn to Christ and let Him do what you can't. And there's always an answer there.
Amen.
Always.
Can I change one word and make this a question?
Absolutely.
What if it's, I've done all I can, and it's not working? It's what you talked about. You've got one spouse that's hell-bent on leaving.
On leaving.
And you've got that one that maybe they weren't believers, but you've got that one spouse that's desperately trying to hang on, and it just...
Well, let me throw out something for that. And look, this is going to sound ideal, But there is an ideal in Scripture for how the church should be, and this is that ideal, that we should be close together enough that we are surrounding each other. Look, I can be hard to live with sometimes. I'm a pastor, maybe that means I'm godly and perfect at the house. It doesn't. That's a myth.
Oh.
I can be hard to live with sometimes. And my wife can nag me to make me better, but you know what would even work better than that?
She could push you.
That's true. She could smother me while I was sleeping. Better than that,
I just wanted you to avoid nag.
Is my godly friends coming to me and confronting me when I am in sin and helping me to be a better husband. And the same should happen for the wives. We should be a community that is encouraging husbands to be better husbands, wives to be better wives. And there are times where that one person is just, again, hell-bent on it. Well, the whole church needs to lovingly encourage, persistently encourage that person towards the direction of their spouse.
Well, we have, we need to get to that place where we give up. We are to that place where we give up too easily. That's the thing. We give up on marriage in the church. We give up on each other. And look, being a Christian and living this out is hard things. You have to do hard things. And look, we're kind of up against a break, but there's 10 more of these from and look, again, this is not promotion of Sam, but this is some incredible what I believe is divinely inspired in terms of something the Spirit gave you that I think, if you know someone who's going through some marriage problems or you're going through some marriage problems, read these. And if you have any questions about them, you can comment on the website. Send us an email from faith2.com, and we would love to email, communicate with you, and talk about
look,
this
if
situation.
You're local to the Birmingham area, too, we'll sit down and help and love. And not for money, obviously. But we can help if you're, Central Alabama.
Absolutely, and so let us be a part of that. We would love to. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. We'll talk about a drive-in church.
Woo!
Drive-in church. So maybe a revolutionary way to do church. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back, War Eagle, to Faith Today. We remind you to go to what? Y'all were doing it in the last segment. You were doing it.
I would like to apologize for that blasphemous reference at the beginning of Faith Today.
In the last segment, you kept saying every other word, Roll Tide.
Yeah, that's
something
okay.
like that. No,
the other is inappropriate.
Oh, the other?
Yeah, the other.
Really?
Just because there's two of y'all and one of each of us.
You know who you're being right now? Dennis Franchione. Remember when he wouldn't even call Auburn by name?
I do remember that. Wow. Hey, look, that was a little sketchy.
All right.
All the Varner stuff, the not saying the name Auburn, I really don't like that. I'm just kidding.
It's opening weekend. We're having a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Welcome back to Faith Today. We remind you to go to faith2.com. Coming off that last segment, we were talking about divorce, and we understand that's an issue a lot of people are struggling with. So please, if you have any questions, if you have comments on that last segment, send them in off faith2.com, and we would love to have a dialogue with you about that. Because we're the church, and we're going to talk about the church now, but just maybe a revolutionary way to do church.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about revolutionary, but definitely a twist to church today. Now, how many of you just straight up have enjoyed going to a drive-in movie and enjoyed it, taking your family, maybe just taking your bride, and pulling up in the car, tuning?
I'm saying I've never been, but anyway.
You've never been to a drive-in? Ever?
Of course he hasn't.
I haven't.
Really?
Well, he's like,
how about you?
25. How old are you? 31?
I'm 33.
You've been to drive-ins, haven't
Well,
you?
sure, I'm old.
Absolutely.
Dude, look, I'm telling you,
There is one.
To a drive-in.
There is one nearby. I've just never went to.
Dude, that is an experience.
Yeah, you're missing a great.
We're gonna go
That's
and
fun.
report back.
Look, you're not going for glamorous, on-screen effects.
Yeah.
It's just atmosphere.
Take the kids, get some shit.
We're gonna go.
Audio and
What does that have to do with church?
Well, I'm going to tell you this.
That's a good question.
Bring it on.
No, I'm going to. Before I get there, I do want to say this: the first drive-in I remember is going to a double feature, Flash Gordon and E.T. So yeah, that was
Is that
cool.
a Flash Gordon thing?
Yeah.
But this is not a
You've
drive-in
never seen
movie.
Flash Gordon either?
Just stop.
Okay,
Not
we're gonna
Star
have to
Wars?
Please
Not Flash
move
Gordon?
on.
I've never seen Star Wars or Flash Gordon.
We're going to
look,
cut
if we
that
wanna
right
go-
there. No, we got to go forward because I mean that's a
I don't know
3-hour
that-
segment right there.
But I think
don't
he
even-
needs to sit in timeout for good.
I agree.
Y'all a bunch of sci-fi nerds.
Wait a minute, why'd you cut the segment?
War Eagle. He didn't cut the segment. He was saying we're going to have to just cut and go on.
Just the,
Oh, keep going then.
Now you're trying to cut the segment.
Oh my gosh!
I want to talk about drive-in church. That's what I want to talk about.
Well, look.
So there's this guy in Collin
I don't want to
County.
stop cutting it out.
Unless you're David, you probably have enjoyed a drive-in movie. But what we're talking about today is some people in Lucas, Texas, have decided to basically create a drive-in church.
Yeah, drive-in.
Drive-in church. Now, I didn't say drive-through. I didn't say drive
Which
up.
is an
It's a
interesting
drive-in
idea,
church. Very interesting idea. Now, it is live. I mean, it's not a screen where you're watching a screen where it's being televised or broadcast. It is a man. His name is David Ray, Pastor David Ray of Sanctuary Under the Sky.
It's an interesting name.
It's a Presbyterian church.
It's a great way to embrace what you're doing.
It's a Presbyterian church. Now get this: they meet at a high school parking lot. People pull up. They get a bulletin. They get all they have I guess ushers and people going around and handing bulletins out. They tune their radio station to a specific number on the FM dial, and they have worship time. They have preaching.
Now he's up front in the parking lot on a microphone, and they sit in their car and listen to him.
I don't see.
They pull up. They do music.
I don't know how they do the music.
They do worship music. They do preaching. They pull up in a parking lot. However, I think it's very humorous. We need to put a picture of this parking lot clip because you still have back row Baptists.
They won't pull up to the front.
You still have people that won't sit near each other.
No, there's all right. The parking lot
spaces in maybe 30.
The parking lot is
spread out.
They're not coming to the front and they're spreading out, which is just like that's awesome.
That is so funny.
Awesome.
Like even in a parking lot, you can't get people to sit near each other.
You really can't.
But it's an interesting concept, to say the least.
A couple of comments from the participants here. One guy says it says giggling. By the way, I wouldn't have wanted that in the article.
I'd have been like strike that.
He said, but anyway, this is the first time I've ever worn shorts to church.
No, he's obviously
He's never been to Agape
Fellowship
in Pinson because I wear shorts.
Sam won't let me wear shorts, and
I don't wear shorts. I don't wear shorts.
I do, and you make fun of me every time.
I do make
wear
fun
them.
of you every time you wear them.
They're nice shorts.
Look, cast the religious spirit out of me. I'm sorry.
They're nice shorts.
They are nice. No, they're
I
not.
wear shoes the
Next
whole
week
time
on
I'm
Faith Today, we cast the religious spirit out of Sam.
I wear shorts all the time. You never make fun of me.
I know.
It's just
we don't have to see you.
All right, here's Dottie Claybrook.
We had you in the drum.
Dottie Claybrook said that the direct contact with nature appeals to her, which I really
in your car?
in your car.
in a parking lot at a high school.
Speaking of nature, I would love to see the carbon footprint of
Oh, ouch.
with everybody running.
They encourage everyone to turn off their vehicles. No, I don't know if that's right.
She goes on to say, I'm turned
Move
off by mega churches and open groups, and I prefer a more intimate setting, alone in her car.
In your car.
So,
That- Really?
can't get better than that.
Okay, look,
So.
we can spend a lot of time really panning this.
Hey, do they
but-
bring burgers to your? That's what I want. Look, I will go if they
I
bring
bet
a
they bring
burger and
communion.
milkshake to your car.
We have breakfast. It's right there.
That's true.
I bet
We
they
do
bring
have
communion to your car. I bet they do. I bet they like come up and
Hey, I bet it can't be Catholic communion.
No?
yeah, can't be in team.
Hey, you know what? We throw this out there like this is a one-off thing. They're actually building one of these. Well, building for all intents and purposes. They're a church down there where my mom lives in Prattville has bought a plot of land. They're excavating it now to do this exact same thing. Yeah.
Really?
Hey, in Prattville,
I kid you not.
Yeah, I know there's several
How
of them in
about
Florida.
I drove by and I went,
Well,
what is that?
well,
Because I wanted to make sure, and my mom was like, oh yeah, they're going to do this new type of
The
church
interesting
where
thing about this one is this is just one of their services. So, I mean, they actually have a service that happens later within this high school, like a normal church that that meets in high school.
That actually gives me a little more hope about it.
Yeah,
It did me too. I was going, this is what? But when I saw that, I was like, well, okay, maybe they're just trying to reach a certain group of people.
And I want to look, David Ray, Pastor Dave. I'm not. Look, he's trying to be creative. He wants to reach people for the gospel, War Eagle. And so I think
Stop saying
that.
that.
I think that. Look, I don't want to run him in the ground for that.
No, absolutely not.
But this concept, this idea of, see you, Nick. Thanks for coming today. This whole thing, to me, it's missing the full.
Yeah.
Look, it's missing the full expression of what church is.
Okay, I'll agree with that. This is my issue. We have a culture right now that defines church as a building, or maybe some more mature churchgoers will say, okay, it's not the building, but they say we're going to church, and what they mean is we're going to a service with preaching and music and communion. It's so inaccurate biblically.
Yeah.
The church is the people of God.
Yes.
The ecclesia, the fellowship of Jesus. That is church. You don't go to church. You are the church Monday to... And I think one of the reasons we talked about divorce last segment, I guess even going back to the first one of the reasons we get so crazy about football is we have a mindset of we're going to go to church once a week, then we're going to change our clothes, like you said, go to work, then we're going to change and become this and that. That weakens marriages.
Yes.
It allows for rampant idolatry. We are the church. We must be the church, not just go to an event. I'm on my soapbox.
And that's what this is. This is an
stool.
event. And now I'm going to say this just because I want to make sure it's said. If Pastor Ray is preaching the gospel to these people that are pulling up,
God bless him.
Yeah.
Yeah, God bless
Absolutely.
him, and the gospel is being preached to them. Now, if these people think that they're attending church and that's all that's required of them to pull up on a Sunday, listen, and go home, then I hope they're encouraging people to take the next step. If that's an entry position, I'm okay with that. But where I don't want, where I hope they don't rest is that they settle for that as being church, and it's not because we're the people. You have to be plugged in. You have to actually sit near someone. You have to interact with someone that you don't know, and pray for one another.
We don't have time to talk about it tonight, but there is such a connection in Scripture. There is supposed to be a bonding and a fellowship. There is supposed to be a deep connection. Look, we've been talking about gospel communities, something that we're going to be doing here at Agape Fellowship coming up soon. And this,
like small groups, isn't it?
It's a lot like home groups. It's pretty much. But look, this is the concept. The most important family there is your faith family and your church family, because that's the only family that will last throughout eternity.
Eternal.
That's the eternal family. And the only way that me and my son will spend eternity together is if he becomes my brother in Christ.
Yeah.
That's it. We have to focus. Dottie, bless her soul, might like the intimate setting, but that's not what we're called to. That's not what we're called to.
We're called to a family. We're called to a group. Well, hey, that's it for this week's Faith Today. We're probably going to release on tomorrow on Labor Day, so happy Labor Day to everybody. We will be back next week. Our website, faith2.com. We really want you to come check us out. Comment, give us story ideas, tell us how dumb we are. Whatever you want to do, faith2.com.
Go Dogs!
War Eagle!
Woo!
Roll Tide. I hope you learned him there. See you next week.
Go Blazers! No.